Pleasure to have you here, Eric. Welcome to Market Movers.
Thank you so much, man.
Really excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive deeper into your story, who you are, what you do for the community right now in San Diego, where you started, and why you took this journey where you are now.
Super excited to be here. I love that you're doing this. I love that you're putting yourself out there, trying to sharpen your own skill set from a marketing standpoint. So thank you. Just very, very grateful for the opportunity to be here. For me, I guess marketing for me started back in Chicago. I went to the University of DePaul, and I had an amazing professor named Jackie Kuehl, and she's kind of the reason that I got into marketing. I took her class. She taught 4 or 5 different classes. I took her for all of them. And for me, marketing was just this universal skill set for business. I kind of was very much like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know business is kind of the path I want to take.
Yeah.
And I was really kind of enamored by like the psychology of marketing, right? So how do you how do you get as a brand, how do you build a brand and get people to think and act and change behavior through marketing efforts?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it started. And then from there, I became the chief marketing officer of a pizza restaurant, big little business called Nick's Pizza and Pub in the suburbs of Chicago. This was 2010, 2011, 2012. So kind of right after the recession. It was a crazy time to just be in the workforce. And I started as a marketing intern there. They didn't have a marketing department. So within 4 years, I built a team. I kind of had a lot of expertise and brought a lot of expertise in the social media, digital marketing. It was early Facebook. Instagram wasn't even a thing back then. Right. So that's kind of where I got I looked at that as like my MBA. It was my first job out of college. I got promoted to chief marketing officer like basically day one, and it was an amazing opportunity to learn from a business that kind of does things different. And we've taken a lot of what Christine and I have brought to 6 Degrees has been kind of implemented and inspired by what I learned at the pizza restaurant. Nice. They had things where their purpose and values driven. They had open book financials. They had 16, 17, 18-year-olds running food and beverage cost centers. And I graduated from college, like introduced to all this. I'm like, you guys are all getting paid to learn how to read a P&L and learn how to run a business. And I was like, I didn't learn any of this and in like the real world experience side of it.
Yeah.
Right. So it really kind of set the tone for what I thought business could be. And then again, like that just kind of led to, this is the type of business that I want to run when I have my own thing.
So chief marketing officer of a pizza restaurant, how did that like parallel with what you wanted to do now?
So I think it was just kind of a natural progression, right? Yeah. So for me, it was, I was interning and the owner of the business goes, all right, so, you've been doing great here. How would you like to be our chief marketing officer? And the whole premise was, you're the chief marketing officer in training, right? We're going to, rather than starting, like you're going to work to be this thing one day, it's like you have the authority. Yeah. You are on the leadership team. Yeah. You are making decisions, and it completely just changed the way and then fast forward 6 months into that role, into that job, again, kind of just this blessing to have a mentor and a partner to learn from. Nick comes to me and goes, Eric, you're crushing it here. What's stopping you from starting your own digital marketing agency? Yeah. Nick's Pizza can be your first client.
Oh, that's smart.
And run away and go.
So he inspired you.
Yeah, no, so inspiring. So yeah. I'm so grateful to have that gift of a leader that very much treated this as an opportunity for someone to learn under this kind of umbrella. It was just real time, like, oh, this is how I can actually build the culture, and then how do I reinforce behavior, right? Yeah. So culture, we either define it or we don't. Yeah. Right. And if we don't, it still happens. The behaviors still show up. So if the more intentional I can be about the type of culture that I want to build, the more clear that's laid out. And then how do we utilize it? How do we use it on a daily basis? All of that was kind of what really was interesting to me from a business standpoint. And they very much took that work and put it into the world, right? And I just had this front row experience of it to kind of understand, like, oh, this is the impact that you could have. So they would have kids, 16, 17, 18, mom would drop them off. You need to go get a job. 2 months, 3 months later, mom and dad are coming back like, what'd you do to my kid? Like they have more confidence than they're just more engaging. And it was all like these tools that kind of get taught at the restaurant. So they really were like a school. The type of organization that I want to work for, build, is have this like learning environment where we're constantly getting better.
Well, that's where the culture stands, right? It's like you invest into your people, person that understands it all, right? But then when he like offered you this position with the CMO opportunity, it's like, were you wearing like multiple hats?
All of them.
Yeah.
I was a team of one,
Yeah.
right? So there was no department. I built the department. It took me 4 years to have a team underneath me and really be able to, okay, so that's a different skill set to learn how to manage a team. That actually led me to, I started my own digital marketing agency because of him. Yeah. And I ended up doing that for about 3 years. Got burned out. They were still my main client. And I got up to maybe 6 or 7 other businesses that I was working, but it was like a lot of small mom and pops that they didn't have the budget, but I wanted to help them. They had this pie shop.
You had the passion, right?
Had the passion for it. Again, early stages of social media. So there was a frozen yogurt shop that I worked with. We would literally do buy one, get one free. And because of what we kind of did from a execution standpoint on treating social media, like the social aspect of it, rather than just posting, it was all about engagement. We would do a buy one, get one free, and literally their sales would quadruple. And it was like, oh wow, like there's real tangible results from this. And I was just too young. I was probably 22 at the time. And I just didn't have the mindset, the wherewithal to kind of step back and go, oh, I can hire someone I can outsource this and I can have someone do this piece of it. I was selling the strategy, building the strategy, executing on the strategy. I'm tweeting as the frozen yogurt shop, right? Community managing,
and
right?
Doing client relations.
And then, all of it. So after 3 years, I was just like, I'm good. And then I went into, hospitality has kind of always been part of my story. So even at the pizza restaurant, right? But when I was 18, my mom took me out of high school for a week after winter break, my senior year. She goes, you're not going back. I don't know if she's going to be happy that this is on a podcast and her parenting styles might get questioned a little bit, but she goes, you're not going back after winter break. You and I are going to sign up for bartending school.
Oh, wow.
And at 18. So in Illinois, you can legally be 18 and poor. Most establishments will override and be like, you know what, we need you to be 21, right? So, but legally you can be a licensed bartender at 18. So we did that for a week, crash course in bartending. She goes, I don't know if you're ever going to use it, but you and me are going to have some fun and it's a life skill. So that's what we did for a week. So from between restaurants and the bar world and then the event side, like you name it, from bussing a table to CMO, from scraping plates at 2 a.m. after an event, and and to producing stuff like that. Like I've just experience, the level of experience, I've done it. Right. So
it creates like great communication, obviously, and being able to like manage people and and have a networking company.
Well, that's the beauty about like the hospitality world, right? Is taught me how to really like think on my feet and be really good at problem solving in the moment. There's so many skills that come from being in that world.
So tell me about all these skills you learned from all these different types of, I guess, paths you took as a entrepreneur, as a marketer, as hospitality. Like, how did that all transcend into what you do now?
Well, I think that's what it was, right? Yeah. So the other side of that, so the event company, the other side of that piece was the same person also owned a State Farm insurance agency. And I did everything in that business, but had my name on the door. Yeah. Right. And I was very, very involved with that. So I got to see this professional relationship kind of networking side, right? So it's kind of the missing puzzle piece of what we do now. But I got to see, realtors, mortgage insurance, that's kind of a power partner system. And when that team is really cohesive, the experience for the client goes up. So it was able to see kind of puzzle pieces and how they fit together in one kind of pocket. And then when this opportunity for 6 Degrees came up, it was literally like, okay, we have this networking piece from the insurance side on the professional service side, all of this hospitality, event production, and then throw in marketing is like this kind of just checklist of all of these skills that I've developed for the last 10, 12, 15 years. This might be something that's interesting with what we could do with 6 Degrees.
Yeah.
Right.
And you really are hitting the nail on the head of every like piece you said. Like hospitality, I feel like is one of them. And you do these great dinners and these breakfast experiences and these great events that you're putting together with these mixers. It's a lot. Yeah.
Well, I think that was kind of our competitive advantage is coming from hospitality. You know, the bar is pretty low. Not throwing shade or anything, but we've all been to the happy hour. Yeah. That it's kind of thrown together last minute, and as the people are there that are there are great. It's just the experience could be so much more. So how do we elevate it to more of think of the best restaurant you've ever been to, the best hotel you've ever stayed at? Not quite that, but just closer to that. And what does that do for the relationships? Right. Everything we do is like with our purpose in mind. right? And our purpose at 6 Degrees, and part of what we really wanted to identify is, so why does this company exist? Why am Christina going to go take a giant risk, put everything we have into this business and go try to make it work?
Can you talk about that risk that you took a little bit, like when it first started?
So part of it was a friend of mine gave me the gentle push. I was working with him remotely a little bit, and he's like, you know what? I love that you're taking a risk and buying this business. I'm super excited for you. And I think to know if you're really going to be successful or not, you got to go all in. Mm-hmm. So he goes, you pick the date. Mm-hmm. That will be your last day here. And then if you need it, call me if you need help. But that will be the last day. And I'm going to have gently push you off the edge, and you're going to go see what you can do. And that was March of 2022. And since then, Christina and I have been full-time all in with this 6 Degrees being our primary source of income. Wow. Coming out of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, I was going to say the pandemic, right?
So it's just so many different variables. And we thought coming out of this pandemic, it was like people need to be back in person. Mm-hmm. And these experiences that we're creating, part of it was our love story a little bit, where we threw a surprise wedding. And it's like, we're good at this. Together, she has some skills that I don't have, and vice versa. So she's very much this tenacious, like, get shit done, right? Kind of powerful woman. And I'm very much like marketing ideas and strategy. And without her, like, I wish I would have had her 10 years ago and had the digital marketing agency, because I probably that would still be existing, and we'd be crushing it, right? So yeah, it's been a journey, but it's definitely a huge risk at the time, right? Of just trying to, okay, is this a good idea? And we kind of ran it by some people there. We bought the idea of the name, right? So great name, 6 Degrees of Separation, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, our version 6 Degrees of Connection, but we bought what it could be, right? And really kind of put our fingerprints on that.
Can you talk about some marketing tactics? Because you're bringing up the brand name, like what marketing tactics are you using as a CMO to help you drive more traffic and get more people interested in this whole idea?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for us, so with buying an existing brand versus building one, right? So there's expectations, there's certain things that already exist. You have preconceived notions, preconceived experiences of the brand. So that was a big shift for us. And what we decided, what Christine and I decided earlier on, was this needs to be something, as a community, this needs to be something that people want to be a part of and they're excited to come to. So all of our marketing efforts have really been more about the experience side, right? And really gearing towards creating things that people are talking about. So how do you create word of mouth? A lot of people, like, most of our members, they're in professional service industries. And if I ask them, like, where does your business come from? It's referrals and word of mouth. Great. Then what's the next,
B2B,
what's the next level of that though, right? So it's what are you doing to create word of mouth? You're doing something, right? So what's the little extra thing that you're doing? How do you do more of that? Yeah. Right. And then referral side is great. Where are your referrals coming from? I guarantee, and this is just kind of across the board, any referral based business, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of your referrals are probably coming from your current clients. Maybe some strategic partners, you've built some relationships, but most of it's your current clients. So how do you double down on that? Right. And how do you dig? And that's when we're in the same business, right? So our marketing strategy is to do the same thing, where how do we create word of mouth? And then our members are our clients. So how do we do things and basically activate our members to want to refer, right? And celebrate and recognize the behaviors and reward the environment around.
What are some successes that you've seen?
I think the way I look at my role is really, so there's like, for you, like, what does marketing mean to you?
Sure.
Right? Like, if I ask that to everyone in this room, right? I think back to like the psychology part, right? So how do we build the experience? And so I get very, like, where my kind of bread and butter is like purpose and value alignment with the brand is kind of where my CEO hat comes on the most. And then tactics, execution. Again, I've had teams that have done some of that stuff. And so we've been very intentional to not be as focused on digital, right? Where so many people start a company and you go, well, you got to be on Instagram because that's how you build the business. We're 2.5 years into this business and we have roughly 100 members. We're closing in on 100 members. And we've done that all without social media, right? So it's in this world of technology, AI. I think it's a massive success of like, here's how to build a brand and focus on the foundation, focus on bringing the right people in. And we haven't even turned on the switch. If you have a little fire and pour some gasoline on it, the fire is just going to go out, right? You want to make sure that fire is cooking, right? And so we've been very intentional to not do that yet. We probably could have earlier this year, and part of it's priorities, time management, right? And where we at. So
you're looking at it in phases. I mean, what's the next phase then? Is it to turn it on?
Yeah,
You feel like it is?
The next phase. So we just brought someone on, our director of community growth. And so very much our goal for the rest of this year is we're at roughly 100. We want to get to 150 members the week before Thanksgiving is kind of like the kickoff to the holiday season. It's a big celebration for us. So just kind of a thank you to our members. So it's a little bit bigger, more extravagant than some of our events. We hit this goal, right? And goals are kind of arbitrary to me
but if you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going.
You need a plan, you need something to work for. So part of that plan was bringing her on and supporting her. So she's newer to sales, so she gets to get her feet wet.
Yeah, and the communication is just so different. And like you said, psychology versus marketing, right? Marketing is like a visual aspect. I feel like sales, you just need a whole different mindset.
Well, have you seen the whole thing with the elephant? Like the best description of marketing. I don't know who to give credit to for it, but basically the idea is the simplest version of marketing is if there's a circus coming to town and you put a sign up that says there's a circus, that's advertising. If you take that sign and you attach it to an elephant, that's promotion, right? So now there's something happening, right? If the elephant walks through the mayor's flowers, that is publicity. And if the mayor comments and laughs at it, that's PR, public relations. That's PR, right? And then so sales is telling everyone, hey, this is what's going to be at the circus. This is why you should come. This is why it's going to be so much fun, and answering any questions. Like that's the sales part. And marketing is putting it all together. If you organize all of those different aspects, that's marketing. And then there's social media and SEO and digital, and I didn't even talk about all those. But like I heard that example, I love the simplicity and the visual of that. Super simple 30-second clip. I'm just like, that made so much sense to me. So yeah.
Well, I really love what you're doing for the community here at 6 Degrees. And I would like to just talk about like your core values and how you set those and how it parallels with what you've done in the past.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. Cause so at 6 Degrees, like our purpose and values are something that when we took over 6 Degrees, and it was our why, why do we want to start this thing? And I don't know if I shared our why, but our why at 6 Degrees, our purpose is we enrich lives, propel each other into our highest potential, and our connections transform dreams into reality, right? Which can feel a little Disney, Mickey Mouse, right? Like out there, but genuinely, like if what we're doing day to day from a marketing standpoint, from a company standpoint, doesn't align with that, then we're not interested in it, right? So that's our North Star, right? And so our values, if our purpose is why, our values become how, right? And so our values at 6 Degrees, they are literally actionable, so that both for our organization, for Christina, me, Anjali, and for our community, this is how we behave. And this is the type of behavior that we're looking to celebrate. How do we recognize the behaviors we want to see more of, and how do we celebrate that? So go back to the pizza restaurant where they had it in the building. So one of the things we do at our annual kind of holiday kickoff party to wrap up the end of the year is we have awards tied to our values.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and then last year what we did was we had artists that we work with. So if you've been to some of our events, usually we'll incorporate live art, either music, painting, different versions. But we actually had 3 different artists that during the holiday party were painting. And what most people didn't know is the painting was the actual prize, the reward, the trophy for 3 people that aligned with certain values, right? And then we have what we call a connector of the year, just someone that's really supporting the growth of the community. So how do you make your values come to life? Is one of the biggest questions as a chief marketing officer. It's like, how are we living our values? How is the community living our values? And I feel like one of my biggest jobs is when I see it happening, like celebrate the fuck out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like just be super excited that it's like, oh, like
it's amplified.
Yeah, like
people are creating affinity
so we have a new team member, and if she names like, hey, like we grow our community with intention and care, and if she actually uses that language to support, this is why I went and reached out to this person, and this is why I'm asking questions. Fuck yeah, like yeah, let's do more of that, right? Yeah, so awesome. It's one thing to kind of like articulate the values, but like my experience is the clearer that we've gotten with these and making them actionable, it's a roadmap for other people. Yeah. Right. And then now we can, are you on the train or are you not on the train? This is the train. This is where we're going. It's really easy to kind of differentiate. Maybe this isn't the right place for you. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So
I really like how you created guidelines, like you said, in the group. You could really see it too, that I felt like it was really like curated. right? Like the people there.
So many people come to our events and they say this feels different, right?
It feels different.
And it sounds like that was your experience, and part of it is finding the right people, right? Trying to get and there's not like a right or wrong. It's alignment, and certain people have a different approach, a different mindset, a different mentality, and then how do we make it feel really warm and welcoming, and like again, so back to hospitality. How do we think through the hospitality experience that you would want to have? Versus we all do the same thing of when we walk into a room, we don't know anyone, we go, who's here that I know? Who looks friendly? If I don't know anyone, maybe I'll start there. Maybe I'll go to the bar, right? I think Christina shared a similar thing, yes, right? But we all do the same thing. So how do we make that, I'll give you a roadmap, give you a little bit more.
Yeah, that extra touch with just sending that email out before the event, like, hey, meet these people.
There's 2 or 3 people that are going to be here. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow, that's worth my time, right? So part of networking, and the problem with networking is it's a waste of time. It's not effective. It's not productive, and it's not worthwhile, right? Yeah. Most of the time, or it's a bunch of people that are all looking for jobs, and we're all just trying to help each other find a job, right? Like that's my experience of networking. And so the problem we tried to solve is how do we make that better? What if we can be really intentional, right? And we can make it feel warm. Yeah. And sprinkle in a little hospitality and throw in some live art and some music, and like what happens, right? And that's kind of what we've seen blossom over the last 2.5 years, right?
That's great. Where do you see this going, like in the next, I guess, year or two? Like, what's your vision for it?
Yeah, I think it's the first year for us, again, to kind of go back to from a branding standpoint, we bought a used car is the analogy that I kind of talk about. Drove the car off the lot, got it home, opened up the hood. That's about to fall off. We're going to need to change the tires here. We're going to do this, right? And it took us probably about a year to just, rebrand, new website, all of that. And then another probably 6 months to a year to, okay, this is the program that makes a lot of sense, a little bit of trial and error. And I think for us, it's growth focused here in San Diego. Specifically, I think being new to the city, right? So me and Christina just moved here 4 years ago. Now kind of understanding the lay of the land, and in the next year or short, long term, in the next year is how do we kind of fill out those different areas? So if we think of if we split up San Diego into North County, Central, Downtown, East, how do we kind of fill out each of those? And then what's the event programming that is like kind of in your backyard?
Yeah. That's smart.
Can we get, I don't know, 75?
That way we're not all committed to going to that one specific event. Maybe there's multiple happening.
Which is kind of what we've seen, right? Yeah. Most people, so Christine and I are very, very involved, as you know, but we go to literally everything that we do, right? And we have groups, and one of us is in the group, and then we're at the events. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. And if you have any other sort of activity, if you have family, if you're involved in something else, which we want you to be, whatever you do, like we understand the time commitment. So that's part of we need to make this as good as it possibly can be. Yeah. But naturally what we've seen, just kind of tracking the data of it is, most people come to a mixer once a quarter, a dinner maybe once or twice a year, right? And then a breakfast if you enjoy the morning session. What we want to have is kind of offer a menu, right? It's pick the things that make sense for you, right? And even being part of a growth group, right? For some people, it's so I'm going to be somewhere once a month. I'm going to get to really know the people. And then even those groups, they'll go and do something social. They'll go do an escape room, or they'll happy hour, go on a boat, whatever it is. But that's how relationships work, right? It's just consistency. So we kind of focus on is how do we create the opportunity? Yeah. And then you can kind of figure out where you want to spend your time within it. And it's going to be a great experience, and you're going to meet some really amazing people. That's what we've focused on. So it's more of that. Long answer to your question. Yeah. More of that, but really thinking through how do we get to 300 members in San Diego? Yeah. So the short term is let's build this here. What does that look like? What's full? What's healthy? And then from there, okay, because we've seen the impact that this has had already on the roughly 100 people that we have involved in our organization, how do we take that to another city?
You can exhaust it pretty quickly, I would say. I mean, but we've been in business 10 years, so a lot of it's word of mouth with a lot of the people that we met. But I feel like I'm back in the trenches again, trying to network and meet new people and figure out new outlets. You have to have goals, like you said, and you have to make sure, the investments are worthwhile and stuff. So just testing new things and new outlets, and this being one of them.
That's been, I mean, that's been one of the interesting components, right? Is like different. Everyone wants something different. Sure. Right. And so how do we understand from the beginning is like, what does success look like for you? Yeah. Right. So from a marketing standpoint, like setting expectations and so we can map out the customer journey all we want. Yeah. But if the expectations are off, there's misalignment in that, like it's a bad experience. Right. Yeah. So understanding like, what do you need? What does Vincent need to 12 months from now go, that was worth it. Yeah. I want to continue to be part of it.
Yeah. Right now, I feel like it's really worth it. I think, garnering interviewers or interviewees for this podcast, and creating, just showing the community like what we're capable of as a company and like how we're creating content and telling stories authentically. I think it's something that really is hard for people to grasp initially for a pitch. It's like, okay, how are you going to tell my story? What are you going to do? Well, I think this kind of gives a sample really of what we do. Yeah.
Thank you for involving the community, right? Like, so it's so funny because I was in a couple of the groups this week and I was like, oh yeah, this person was like, oh yeah, I was on that podcast, and someone else was like, oh yeah, I'm doing it next week. And I'm like, I'm gonna be on there next week, right? So it's just kind of this, so 6 degrees of just this podcast, right? It's kind of is really cool. So I love that. One, that you're able to see the expertise that some of our members have, tap into that, and make connections. That's like, oh no, you'd be great on this in this setting, right? So what a gift for them to be able to kind of come here and share their story. I love it.
Yes, it's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, it was a pleasure having you. I know we got to wrap this up right now.
Like I said, I could talk to you for another 3 hours if you want.
Throw yourself a shout.
Sure. Is it look at the camera kind of thing, or is it not? So I think if anyone's interested in checking us out, 6degreesnetworking.com. 6 degrees, the number 6, degrees spelled out, networking spelled out.com. LinkedIn, we're really active on LinkedIn right now. So just the numbers. So I know I said the number, but it's actually SIX, like spelled out. And then degrees spelled out, networking spelled out. So little confusing. So I don't know how useful that is. And then if you're interested in getting involved in what we're doing, you want to come check out, especially from a purpose and value standpoint, that's really like, we're looking for members that are aligned with our purpose and values and what we do. We have this 45-day trial where basically you can experience all the different types of events and ways that we connect our members and bring people together. And it really gives the people on the trial a really robust experience of everything that we have to offer. Trial is a great way to just get involved. At the very least, you're going to meet some amazing people. And to me, it's well worth it. So I'd love to meet anyone that's interested. It would be a good fit, specifically around professional service industries.
I feel like we have so much to talk about, and I really would like to maybe even host another one with you on it soon. Yeah. Let's do maybe after Thanksgiving or something. That way people can, see how far you've grown.
Yeah. Hopefully after Thanksgiving, it's a big celebration.
Yeah. So, that'd be good.
I will plug I believe Christina's going to get mad if I don't say the right date. It is November 19th, I think, which should be the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. That's our big kind of kickoff to the holiday season party. And again, 150 members is the celebration number we're looking forward to. So
thank you so much, Eric, for being on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I wish I had more time.
Yeah.